On the surface, Three Body Problem is a show about how the world would handle the looming threat of an advanced alien invasion. But from the opening scene, this series has had hidden meanings and metaphors baked into every minute of every episode. From the parallel of the Red Guard Cultural Revolution and the Santi Ren, to the constant discussion of humans' effect on the environment. Yes, this story is meant to entertain, frighten, and captivate the audience, but it's also trying to make us think, not only about the possibilities, but the truth behind this series. So what exactly is it trying to tell us? Now, a quick note before we get into this, I'm discussing Three Body Problem as portrayed by Netflix and the series version creators, not the pre-existing book trilogy the show is based on. In the comments on my recent videos, it seemed kinda split on who wanted me to bring in more elements from the book, and who wanted me to just stick with the show. So for this video and ones after, if there are any elements that are only in the books, I'll just put up a spoiler warning. But for the most part, I'm just going to focus on the series as you will see in this video. Mainly because, well, I haven't read the books. But anyway, if you need a recap of Season 1, I have all 8 episodes individually explained over here on my channel, where we go over every single detail of Three Body Problem. Link in the description. And to understand this video, you will have had to have watched the series and or my videos, so if you haven't, you might get a little lost. So my personal interpretation that I gathered while watching, and it's also my favorite theory, is that Three Body Problem is a critique on how humans have affected the Earth and its environment. But going even deeper, I think that the Santi aliens are a symbol for the end of our habitable world brought upon by climate change and technological advancements. Just like most things in this series, it all starts with Ye Wenjie. In episode 1, while she is working at the labor camp, we see that they have been chopping down the surrounding forests to create their military base. From here, there is a constant reminder of how humans tear apart the earth in the name of progress. And this was the driving force behind Ye inviting the Santi in the first place. She hated how much we have ruined the natural environment and felt like our world had become unable to be saved. And yes, I know it's also about humans' greed and violence, but that's for a separate theory. And then we have the multiple references to the Silent Spring book, an extremely influential 1960s environmental science novel, all about the damage caused by the use of pesticides in World War II, and the overall harm of the chemical industry and its use by the government on the world. It's like reading into our future if we persist with this destruction. Whether it's pollution, chemicals poisoning the environment, greenhouse gases, or removing the natural landscape, these things will cause irreversible damage. I mean, you know all the stuff in the news, it's climate change. You hear it all the time. We will die in X amount of years because of changes in temperature and weather patterns. But it's the social response to these concepts in the show where I see a lot of parallels to the Santi aliens. After everyone finds out the aliens are coming to take over, they also find out that it will take 400 years for them to get here. And a large amount of citizens, represented by Saul's take in the last 2 episodes, feel as if no one should really worry or freak out because no one alive right now will even be there when they arrive. And that is a very common angle a lot of people have when discussing the negative possibilities of climate change. It won't happen in my lifetime, so what should I care? What am I going to do about it? The Santi are an imminent threat that are constantly affecting the world and making things worse for human life on their journey to get here, and eventually will wipe humans out and take over the planet. You could work on trying to stop them from getting here or slowing them down, but if no action is taken, they will at some point conquer the world. And this is just like the negative effects of climate change, or rather the things that cause it. It's not going to happen now, but it's on its way to happening, slowly but surely making the planet worse. I talked about this in episode 3, but there is a direct reference to Oppenheimer, the man who created the atomic bomb. And if you haven't seen that video, I made a comparison to him and Ye Wenjie because they each made a decision that put the entire world at risk. We all know the story of Oppenheimer by now, especially because of the movie, but his huge moral dilemma he had was the chain reaction detonating a nuclear bomb in a war could have on Earth. Not only could other countries create them too and we have a worldwide atomic bomb off where we end up in a nuclear wasteland, but the remnants of these creations will have long-lasting effects on the humans and surrounding landscape that came in contact with it. Radiation is one of the most deadly things on the planet. So to me, the Santi represent the end of the world in some sort of natural disaster capacity, whether it's climate change or nuclear radiation. And Ye, representative of someone like Oppenheimer, made a decision that created the chain reaction of events that will now lead to our destruction. So, accelerationism plays right into what I was just saying about climate change. I discussed this before in episode 6 Explained, but it seems like the series is showing us the yin and yang of scientific and technological advancements. The more we advance as a society, the more powerful our technology and science becomes, and that's very positive but also dangerous for many reasons. And this is represented in the show with Augie's nanofibers. The practical use of them could help out so many people in the world. Water filtration, medical developments, protecting the environment. But as we saw with the Judgment Day episode, it's just as practical to use nanofibers for weapons of mass destruction. Without sounding like a broken record, everything I said about different causes of climate change are a result of us accelerating as a society. Accelerationists argue that technology, specifically computer technology, and capitalism, specifically the most aggressive, should be massively sped up and intensified, either because this is the best way forward for humanity, or because there is no alternative. And this plays right into three-body problem. How far can we go until it's too far? Just like Ye said, we are beyond saving or going back. But then we have Wade's little tagline that represents this idea perfectly too. Only advance. This is the good side of accelerationism, shown in episode 5 with the Sophon talking to Jin and Wade. If they don't kill our science, we will keep advancing until we are more powerful than them. If we can develop things like the Staircase Project, we will advance space travel, cryogenic technology, and our science overall decades ahead. In this case, advancing is our only hope at winning this battle. And the Santi themselves could also represent a form of accelerationism because they are so much more advanced than us, giving them the capabilities to put countdowns in our head, make the stars blink, and put a giant eye in the sky. And then there is this question of, if we were this advanced, would we do the same? Now yes, they are acting out of their best interest and survival, but haven't we always done that too? They are acceleration to the fullest extent. And just like the dichotomy of all other science and technology, the result of their advancement is extremely dangerous to our society. But not everybody thinks this. So I'm trying to have a through line here, but altruism directly ties into accelerationism. Effective altruism prompts us to consider not only the efficiency of our actions in improving the world, but also the long-term implications of our choices. And then accelerationism challenges us to embrace and steer these rapid developments in a way that aligns with humane and sustainable values. Altruism at its core is the idea of complete selflessness, only acting in the interest of others, not yourself. And I feel like Mike Evans, Ye, and their cult represent altruism to an extreme, where they are so focused on the betterment of society that they are willing to go to any lengths to usher in this new world, even if that means they are inviting an advanced alien race into our planet. It's also said that altruists have a moral obligation that could be focused on an individual, like a god, king, or government body. And the cult acts in favor of the world, but really they're doing this all in the obligation of the Santi. They quite literally worship them. This series is showing us both sides of the coin. It's not only a critique on both concepts, but it's making you think of which side is the quote-unquote right one. In theory, the altruists should be the good ones because they are acting in the interest of the world, but when represented by an extreme like this cult, it puts into question their motives and methods. I even said multiple times throughout the series that there are parts of the cult that I agree with, but they are portrayed as the bad guys. I'm on the side of the humans because I am one, but I agree with Ye's disdain for what we have done to our fellow human and the environment. At the end of the season, Ye even regrets her decision and kinda switches sides. Altruism, like I said, is often tied into religion, and there is so much religious subtext in the Santi cult scenes as they literally refer to them as a god. This show could also be a critique on religion, blindly following an entity trying to get the world to adopt that belief system and acting in favor of those beliefs, while at the same time saying it's in favor of humanity. They think that because the Santi are so much more powerful and can perform miracles, they will in turn save us from our ways. Without really considering the implications or what anyone else thinks, they believe that because this alien race has the potential to help us, they will help us. It's selfless but also selfish at the same time. They assume that they are right, which is like the definition of arrogance. The cult represents the negative effects of what's perceived as altruism. Alright, I know I'm about to dive into some treacherous waters with these topics, but I'm going to remain unbiased and present these as they are presented. I'm not saying one is better or one is right. So while the show is a critique on communism, it is equally a critique on capitalism. Accelerationism is a capitalistic ideology, and it's been said that effective altruism can be a communist ideology. So we have to remember the writer of this book series. He is a Chinese engineer that does seem to support some communist ideas, but also has criticized them in his work as well. He also was born and raised during the Chinese Cultural Revolution and has seen it firsthand, hence why it is used as a strong parallel and symbol for what happens with the Santi in the series. The symbol of communism is brought to us in the very first episode and is carried throughout the series as we see the Santi and eventually their cult act very similar to the Red Guards. The Red Guards were a radical student-led rebellion mobilized by chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong. In attempts to convert the nation to the Mao Zedong thought, they wanted to eradicate the previous way of society. To do this, they had to get rid of the current teachings, and just like they did in real life, scientists, teachers, and professors were murdered for pushing things like evolution, the theory of relativity, and the Big Bang Theory. And as we see in the series, the Santi start taking out the top minds of the world. Physicists, scientists, you name it. But the cult is also recruiting some of the top minds to work side by side with them when the aliens get here. They want to usher in the new world led by the Santi, and just like the Red Guard movement, they have to control who has the most influence, who is teaching the new generation their belief system. The concept of communism, according to some, has a lot of benefits, and again, altruistic beliefs when practiced correctly. The same can be said about capitalism. It's about how these things are practiced and who is leading the charge. Just like a powerful piece of technology, when put in the wrong hands, it brings out the worst in humans. A lust for power, our pride, and most importantly, our greed. The way the Santi are treating us is very similar to how different groups of people have treated each other in human history. We see a less powerful group, rob them of their resources and their land, and then settle into it like it's our own. The most common example of this is the creation of America. And just like when Columbus was on his run of robbery, while in Jamaica, he needed more resources for his crew. He told the natives that if they didn't give up their resources, God would make the moon turn blood red with his wrath as a sign of future punishment. Because Europe was more scientifically advanced, they already knew about lunar and solar eclipses, something the natives hadn't discovered yet. So he knew when the next lunar eclipse was happening, and with his more advanced scientific knowledge, used that against them to show off what looked like a divine miracle, which feels very similar to the Santi making the sky blink, showing the "you are" bug sign, and making the big eye in the sky. They both use science to scare the less advanced group into giving them what they want. The show itself has multiple references to the greed of humans. Mike Evans, when he used to be cool, said we kill so many other species while ruining the environment, all in the name of greed. Colonialism and capitalism are stemmed from basic human greed. We take, advance, grow, gain more power, all in the name of progress. This show is critiquing human nature by showing us what a more advanced species would do to us. We always thought we were top of the food chain until the Santi made their way to our world. This is us getting a taste of our own medicine. All of these concepts could be applied to this show because Three Body Problem is top to bottom social commentary. It's critiquing all these aspects of our history, our present, and what could come of our future. But I think the most important concept the show presented was yin and yang. Things like accelerationism bring us our greatest achievements and advancements, but at the same time, they are humans' most dangerous creations. Like I had said in episode 6, we have never been more disconnected from reality and Earth because technology has created an autonomous world. How all of you that watch this will react to different ideologies that you may believe in or hate with a burning passion shows how split these things are. Some people love capitalism, some people are environmentalist, and some think we should be accelerating even more. The show, in my opinion, is doing two things. One, it is pointing out the hypocrisy of these different ideologies, and two, it is presenting them from both perspectives, the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. And it is doing this so we as an audience can think. This series is a conversation starter. It's discussing very important subjects that directly correlate to today's social climate. With everything that's going on in the world right now, sometimes it's hard to have a definitive perspective on what you think is right and wrong. So when you can view these concepts through the lens of science fiction, a fake story, it allows for you to think about these things without establishing a point of view that's forced upon us by media or society. Most forms of art that discuss topics like these are usually biased one way because of the artist that created them. But by the end of season 1, Three Body Problem doesn't really tell you which way you should be leaning. Will has a great perspective when he says, "What if the Santi are better than us?" I mean, remember, they can't even lie. The show portrays the Santi as our enemy, but just because they are an enemy doesn't mean they are any less or more evil than us. And each character represents a different side of humanity. For example, Augie is on the side of environmentalist and altruist, but is completely against the Santi cult who represent the same values. Jin is an accelerationist just like Wade, but she constantly questions if this is the right path to take. And Saul, well, he just wants to get high and relax, and I can't really blame him. I know I talked a lot about some heavy topics in this video, but Three Body Problem is nothing short of a heavy story. So many meanings and symbols can be taken away from this, and these were just some of the ones that I noticed in the show and from other interpretations online. I mean, some of this stuff I got from you guys. So again, please let me know in the comments your thoughts and your takeaways. What do the Santi represent? Are we like Ye, or are we more like a different character? Who or what does she represent? And am I possibly just looking way too deep into this, like always? But again, none of these are right or wrong, and I could totally be missing the point anyway. So I would really love to hear what you guys think. And maybe we can go back to this soon with a whole new set of theories. For real, thank you guys so much for all the support on this series. Make sure to like and subscribe because there will be more Three Body Problem to come. And yeah, is it all just about greed? Are we looking into the future? Is history repeating itself? What is Three Body Problem really about?